In this interview, I'm speaking with Tim at the campus of UNC Charlotte. And Tim is a Southern Baptist. However, he disagrees with what I'm telling him about the gospel and about God's judgment. Sometimes we'll be disappointed when things end abruptly and we're not able to actually share the complete gospel message with them. We just have to still continue to pray for those people that God would prick their heart and convict their heart, and that they would examine themselves to see if they really are a Christian. Watch as Tim decides it's time to go on to class, which he did have a class to get to, but I was a little disappointed that I was unable to finish the conversation.
And Tim, do you feel like the morals, values that you have, do you think that that's comes from your conscience, that's kind of ingrained in you, or do you think that is more of a thing that you learn along the way as you're taught?
I think it's more of a societal thing. I think it's something I got from my parents more so than anything else. So I think there's like somewhat of an inward, I guess, morality compass, but I think a lot of it is strengthened by who you're around and, you know, how you're raised.
Okay. Would you consider yourself to be a good person?
No.
Okay. Why do you say that?
I don't know. I think I don't know. I think it's kind of hard to be a good person, so I would say I'm not.
Okay. So how would you define a good person?
Well, I think if you're a kind, compassionate, moral person, then you're a good person. I think it's just a lot of how you treat other folks. That's what it comes down to.
Okay. So you don't feel like you treat people well, or how would you in other words, how are you defining yourself?
Yeah, well, I think I try to do the best I can, but everybody messes up.
Right.
So.
Are you have any kind of religious beliefs or background, or what's your stand and feeling on that?
Well, I'm a Southern Baptist. I'm a Christian. I grew up in a Southern Baptist church.
That's cool. So are you an active Christian now? I mean, you go to church now, or was it?
I try to go. I'm not very good about going all the time, but I probably go maybe once a month or so.
Okay. So is that some of your strong core values, where they come from, or what you believe?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, I would say a lot of it came from my parents, but a lot of theirs came through church. Okay. So I would say that religion plays a big part in it.
Okay. So what do you believe happens to a person when they die?
Well, hopefully they go to heaven. You know, I mean, I've kind of, that's something I tussle with all the time. I can't really say that I have a straightforward, defined answer. I think there's definitely something after you pass.
Okay. So does everybody go to heaven?
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure how it always works. I mean, even when I was in undergrad, I went to a Presbyterian little youth group, and that was something we talked about all the time was like people and their different beliefs. So to be honest, I'm not going to say that I understand everything.
Okay. So, but what does the Bible teach on that issue?
Oh well, it talks about heaven and hell and so forth.
Okay. So what do you have to do to go to heaven based on what the Bible teaches?
Well, based upon what the Bible teaches, I guess it would be John 3:16. You know, love Christ, believe in the Son, give your life to Him, and thus you'll go to heaven.
Okay. And the reason, say that I wanted to be a Christian. Say, Tim, it's Tim, correct? Okay, I'm sorry. Say, for example, that you came across me in the street and I had been in a fight and had got stabbed in the back and was about to die, and I said, Tim, I've been a wicked person all my life. I've only got 3 minutes to live, but I want to go to heaven. What do I need to do? What would you tell me?
Well, based upon the Christian belief, then what you would need to do is give your life to Christ.
Okay, but what does that mean?
That means, well, to be honest, that's something I've always wondered about. I mean, I know in church you're always taught that, you know, it takes a moment of giving your life, you know, like saying that you believe and giving your life over, and I believe in that. I think if you're good, good. I wouldn't even say good moral person. I just say, like if you're trying to do the right thing for the most part, then go for it.
Okay. Well, Tim, that's one of the reasons that we're out here doing this. Is I would like to try to shed some light on the issue for you, since you said you kind of believe in those things, but you still don't have a whole lot of understanding. You've kind of wondered about what some of those things are and what happens, that sort of thing. So what I want to do is take you through a quick little test that we call the good person test, where you can evaluate yourself. It's not us judging you by any means. It's so that you can evaluate yourself, so that you can find out whether or not you would be good enough to go to heaven. It's fair enough?
Well, I don't really think you had to be good enough to go to heaven.
Okay. Well, we'll just go through this test real quick. Like you said, well, you're actually right. The Bible actually teaches that there is nobody that is good. and that we're all unrighteous people, and that let me ask you this: have you ever, and in your lifetime, have you ever told a lie?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. What do you call somebody that's told a lie?
I guess you would say that they're a liar, that they tell falsehoods.
Okay. What about in your lifetime, regardless of how old you were or the value of it, have you ever stolen anything?
Actually, I'm not sure. I don't think I have, actually.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. What about this one? Since you have some background in the church, one of the Ten Commandments states, do not commit adultery. And Jesus actually went on to expand that to say that the Bible says not to commit adultery, but that if you look at a person lustfully in your heart, then you've committed adultery in your heart. Have you ever done that?
Oh, definitely. Sure.
Okay. All right. And just one more for you. Have you ever used God's name in vain?
Yes.
Okay, and that's called blasphemy.
Right.
All right. Now, just based on your own admission, this is not us judging you or anything like that. And just to tell you in advance, I've failed the same things. You know, I'm guilty of those same things. It's not us judging you at all. It's just for you to be able to examine yourself. In light of that fact, of those issues, if you stood before God and He judged you based on those commandments, do you think He would find you guilty or innocent?
Oh, well, and what you're saying, I would be guilty.
Okay, so do you think, based on that you would go to heaven or to hell?
Well, that's the reason I think, God, as you would see Him, would be righteous. So I think that God would, He would give you forgiveness based upon, your life and your desires. And I don't think we're put on the earth to be sinless creatures.
Okay, so do you think it would be righteous for God to allow murderers and people that's committed wicked deeds to have the same reward as a person that did good all their life?
Well, I don't think there's anyone that's ever been, good their entire life other than Jesus.
Well, you're correct in saying that, but I guess what I'm getting at is if you were in court, and just say a regular court of law, and you were, let's say it's a person that's guilty of some kind of serious crime, murder, rape, that sort of thing, and they come before the judge and said, Your Honor, I realize that nobody's perfect. I realize that, I'm not perfect, and, everybody's messed up in their life, and, I don't do that stuff anymore. It's been a while since that happened. In fact, since then, I've started doing good. I give money to the poor, and I do good works and do good deeds. And so do you think it would be right for the judge to let them go free based on that?
Well, my girlfriend's an attorney, so I guess based upon man's law, but I think man's law is different than God's law. But in terms of man's law, if you've broken a law, then you've broken a law, and it's just for the judge to do what they deem necessary. Okay,
so would you really feel like, though, that a human judge would be more righteous than God would be?
No, definitely not.
Because in saying that God would not punish a sinner would be saying that He's less righteous than a human judge.
Oh, I don't agree with that, actually. I think that's actually, I think that forgiveness is more righteous than judgment. So I think God's forgiveness is what makes Him, the omniscient, most righteous thing there is.
Okay. Well, the Bible actually teaches that God is a God of wrath and judgment. If you read it, it teaches us that there will be punishment for sinners, and that's what it teaches in the Bible. And so would you feel like that, based on what the Bible teaches, I mean, do you agree with what the Bible teaches, or you don't, or you're just not sure about what it teaches? Or
I agree with what the Bible teaches, but I think, as it says too, God is love. And that's why, I think He's a God of wrath and such and so forth too, but I think more so He's a loving God.
Well, God is a God of love, indeed, as you say, but part of that characteristic of love is being righteous and discipline and justice, and justice wouldn't be met for people not to be punished for their crimes. Do you know what God did so that we wouldn't have to receive that punishment?
Gave His Son.
Okay. And how does that work? Why is that necessary?
Well, I got to leave right now because I got to get to class.
That's cool. Okay. Well, I appreciate it. I hope you'll just think about it, and I appreciate that you're a gentleman. Thank you, Tim. Thank you. Have a good one.